All right, guys, today we are talking about a short story called A Fable. And a fable, uh, the type of story that a fable is, has been around for a long time, thousands of years. In fact, in the 600s BC, there was a man named Aesop who wrote over 600 fables. And a fable is a short story that has a lesson. We call that lesson a moral. So the moral is the type of lesson that's learned in a fable. And a fable is usually a very short story, and often it has animals with human characteristics that tell the story, or they're the characters in the story. And there's always some sort of lesson learned in a fable. So we're going to be reading one today that was based on one of Aesop's fables. And so when you're reading it, you should be thinking about the lesson that can be learned from the characters in the story. Okay, just a few vocabulary words that we're going to encounter in this story, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of them. Okay, so one is bristled. This is a past tense verb, like someone bristled. And you might not know what that means, but you probably do know what this means. Have you brushed your hair today with the bristles of the brush? Did you brush your teeth and the bristles of the toothbrush scrubbed your teeth? So it means like standing straight up, right? So if someone bristled, they're standing up, alert, right? Okay, so bristled. That's one of the words in the fable that you might not be familiar with. This is also in your glossary, okay? Burly. I want you to listen to this sentence and see if you can figure out what the word burly means. The furniture movers were burly men who were able to lift the piano easily. So, what do you think burly means from that sentence? Listen again. The furniture movers were burly men who were able to lift the piano easily. So, did you guess that burly meant maybe like big and strong? Yeah, that's what burly means, okay? Murky. Now, I want you to listen to this sentence and see if you can figure out the meaning of the word murky from the context clues. The fisherman could not see very far down into the murky water of the pond. Okay, so the water in the pond is murky, and the fishermen cannot see down to the bottom of the pond. They can't see very far down the pond because the water is so murky. So, what do you think murky means? Yeah, kind of like muddy or unclear. Yes, definitely. And then this word you're probably familiar with. It is snarled, which is another word for growled. Okay, so you could have a barking, growling, snarling dog that you might want to stay away from. Okay, so those are our vocabulary words that you're going to encounter in this fable. And as you read the story, I want you to be thinking about what the moral is. What is the character learning in this story? So you'll be asked on your workbook page to talk about that, to talk about what the moral is. Now, this story is called The Greedy Dog. It is a retelling of Aesop's fable. It means that he came up with the idea and this author rewrote it into kind of modern version and used her own words. Okay, so it's very short. It's just one page. I'd like you to read it twice, okay, just to make sure you're getting all the details in, and because it's so short, we have time on that. But let's talk about greedy. Greedy dog. What does a greedy dog mean? What's greed mean? So greed is when we want more, maybe something that we don't need, or we're trying to get more for ourselves and not thinking about sharing. So let's think about that. Do you think greed goes with what God wants us to do? Yeah, that's right. Greed and godliness don't really go together. In fact, the Bible talks a lot about greed. In fact, in 1 Timothy chapter 6, it says, "Yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth." So, people often are just trying to get more and more and more money. They have all the things they need, but they just keep thinking about having more and having more. But God says, hey, if you are doing my things my way, you have godliness, you are trying to have Jesus be the forefront of your mind, and your thoughts and your actions are glorifying Him. If you've got true godliness and contentment, meaning you're happy with what you've got, you're satisfied with what you've got, you have contentment, then that is great wealth. That's kind of the opposite of greed. Greed means you're always trying to get more and more for yourself. Very self centered, thinking only of you. Where contentment is, hey, I'm happy with what God has given me and I can depend on Him for everything I need. So, we're going to learn about the greedy dog and see what sort of lesson we can learn from this character and from this fable. Okay, that's it for today. So please read page 91. I'd like you to read it twice, and then you're going to complete workbook pages 161 and 162. On page 162, there's going to be another fable that you're going to read about two types of birds. There were some cranes and a stork. And so see what kind of moral you can learn from that fable. And again, please read the fable twice. Once just to kind of get the idea of the story, and second to get the details and find that fable easily. Okay, have fun.